Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Lois and welcome back to Stoneblock 3. In the last episode, we were working on, well, preparations for our fission reactor. And that is what we're going to work on today. But not quite yet. We've got a handful of things to do before we can get there. So some things that we've been working on. Well, let's start with this. I've been busy. I have been very busy between episodes, and one of the big things that we need to do is pop down here and grab this niotic energy cell and break it, and then get up here quickly enough to make a spirited. Oh no, we didn't get here fast enough. I just put that there for a second. Perfect. Let's get this prepped. Fun fact, if you have recipes in the crafting table here, it doesn't matter if your system runs out of power at all. So let's quickly get a spirited energy cell. Now this thing will store a lot more power. Specifically, it's 400 million FE. That is a lot of power. That is a lot more than this thing produces. This thing produces 200 FE. Why would we ever want something massive? Okay, so we're gonna put a flux point right here, and this is going to be a new network. We're going to create a new network. We're gonna call this fission power, and it does not need to be, it doesn't matter, but we're gonna put it on that, and that will work out great. So this is going to get power from our fission reactor once we make it. And we have a lot of stuff in our inventory. But before we look at all that, so last time we were looking at the network transmitter. How can we get things kind of placed around and cleaned up so that everything works nicely? And we have this whole system of the loot crate opener. I've added a storage controller here, and I've added storage drawers over there. We're going to start storing all this stuff in drawers. That seems to be the best idea. So I wanted to show this off before I start filling everything up. And then we'll just get a advanced logistical transporter. And that will help kind of make sure we get everything. I've been running the mob farm every once in a while and just getting stuff. And then the last thing I did between episodes was I upgraded our energizing orb, specifically these rods. Also, I've had issues with this thing. Occasionally, it will double item, which is not good. But I did increase the delay by a little bit, so hopefully that helps. But yeah, I upgraded. We have 4 blazing tier energizing rods now, so that is how we do all of that. So yeah, today we're going to, we got a couple things to do before we head to go build our turbine and everything. And one of the problems we're going to run into very soon is we don't have any sulfur. So we are completely out of sulfur because our fissile fuel is fissile fuel. That is how you pronounce this. This is all full, which is awesome, but yeah, it's basically using up all of the sulfur whenever we get it. There are some ways to make more sulfur, and that might be something we want to look into a little bit. We also need to make a couple of things before we can go do stuff. So first thing I want to make is we're going to make a travel anchor. These are really expensive. It's a bunch of iron. And we got one from a reward at some point. And I'm hoping that this will be a good distance. So I believe we can enter name. We're going to call this home. And then we're going to run all the way out here. So I have set up, I don't know what the distance is on these. It's hard to find. It might be like 64 blocks. I really hope it's not that close. But I have dug out a room over here. And we're going to put this here. We'll call this reactor. Perfect. So can we? No. Well, I can dream. So I guess we're at like 100. This is where we're gonna put the reactor for the record. I've got a little bit of stuff. We're going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, I think we're gonna put this into the ground. And so we're going to do one of these. And this torch is in the wrong position. It should be right there. So that should be fine. And we're just gonna start putting some reactor stuff down. I need to remind myself how to make these. And then we're gonna have, you know, the reactor glass and all that kind of stuff. We're going to need a bunch of these fission fuel assemblies. We're going to want radioactive barrel. We're going to put that over here. And when this fills up with radioactive waste, do not break it. It is bad. Bad things happen if you break this when it's full. We're going to try to automate as much as we can. I think what we'll do is we'll put our network thing like here. I don't have the card. Ooh, I forgot about that. And we'll get the exporters. We're going to need water, so we can go ahead and put this down. Get some water ready. I have to make this die, don't I? That's fine. Blue, blue, blue. Easiest thing to remember. And we'll get these things all set up. So we're going to have our reactor here. The turbine is going to be here. I think we'll do the same thing. We'll make a 5x5 by something, and yeah, this is all going to be a pain. We're gonna make another travel anchor, and we're gonna make an intermediate if we need to. So reactor, let's do mechanism. So we're going to need some other things as well. So one thing we're going to need, it's not that. I know what some of these blocks look like, so we're gonna need, let's see, fission reactor casing, port, reactor glass. Apparently we don't need to have a controller, but we're going to need to have turbine casings. These are steel and osmium. We're gonna need turbine blades. That's pretty easy. So we're going to have to make some more stuff. I'm going to probably do all that kind of stuff off camera because a lot of the building is, it's going to be a little bit tedious. I've got to remember, I watched a video, I'll be honest, I don't remember whose. I just kind of searched up the fusion reactor and watched a video on it, but yeah, we're going to have to mess around with the travel anchors as well. I'm going to have to make a few more. But there is a handful of things that we're going to need. So to make the polonium pellets, we need fluorite dust, which comes from a crusher. So we'll have to get a crusher over there. I have one. We're going to need polonium, which we get from nuclear waste and sulfur dust. And sulfur dust, again, is enrichment of the sulfur from thermal. We can make it as well with oxygen and water and coal. So that is something if we need to, or we can use hydrogen chloride. That seems terrible. Can we make this sulfur some way? So the way we're getting it is by washing sand, and it's like a 4% chance. But we can get it by pulverizing blaze rods. Okay. Yeah, there's not any really good ways of getting it. We could potentially also, we need the sulfur dust anyway, so is there any other good ways? That is a dye mixer. Okay. Not entirely sure how that works, but blood magic I kind of want to stay away from. So fractioning oils doesn't seem fun. Yeah, so I guess if we really want some more sulfur, we could PRC some coal. But we need to make a couple more things. So I have the PRCs, the crusher, the enrichment chamber. We have power of multiple types. We have the water. We have some things. We are going to need more casings. Let's get like a stack. That's not the worst recipe. And then we're going to need this hazmat stuff. So hazmat mask. I think this all requires orange dye and black dye. Okay, so we can make the boots. And then we're going to need some orange dye. So we're going to need some red dye. Do we have any beets? Or anything that would work? Okay, yeah, we have plenty of beets. So we just need 3. So I know it's only 2. And then dandelions, yellow, mystical flowers. We could use that. What else could we use? I don't know if we have any yellow dye. That is actually a good question. So I guess we'll have to grab the yellow mystical flowers, and this can actually be turned into, if we have a mortar and pestle. Do we have one of those lying around? I don't think so, so we're just going to assume that we don't. Mortar and pestle. Hold up. Oh, they got rid of that. Okay, never mind. It used to be that for Botania flowers, you could turn them into dyes by using a mortar and pestle on them, and that was it. Turns out that's not the case anymore, which means we actually don't need to do that. We have orange flowers, and we can use one of those to get orange dye as well. Cool. So let's get the pants, and then we can make the helmet and the gown. And this is going to be very important when we start working with the reactor. So trying to think of what else do we need to do before we get to work. We are going to need, I taught the system how to make the upgraded versions of the pressurized tubes and the mechanical pipes. We're going to want ultimate tier, so let's go ahead and craft. I will go ahead and craft those. If you don't remember, the ultimate tier stuff is just the ultimate alloy and the elite alloy, reinforced alloy, and that is it. I did do one more thing, which is probably using up a lot of our enriched obsidian. No, we have this completely full because I have gone ahead and put the crafting upgrade in there. We're getting plenty of the obsidian, so I'm not too worried about that anymore. So I guess there's one last thing we can try. Let's see if the travel wand, what is this? Travel staff, staff of traveling. These are old Ender.io items, and so this I believe can get range. Yeah, let's get 30 levels. I've been grabbing levels from the mob farm. There is a quest in the passive to donate 100 levels. We'll do that at some point. Actually, wonder how that works. We'll test that in a minute. But let's get range 3. So now we can. Oh, cool! We can immediately teleport out here with that, and we don't need to worry. Oh, that is really nice. So we can't see it from here, but the staff works. So let's see if this is exactly 20 levels. Okay, 27 levels. And now let's see what happens if we just get one more level. Fun fact, it is... Okay, that's how you do it. Let's get 30 levels. Donate 30 levels. Let's stick at 30 levels. So this is actually using less levels. And then we need 12. And there's that. Chapter complete. Perfect. Okay, so I am going to cut away here for a moment. We have the ability to get over there. I'm going to do a little bit of work. I think I'm going to do a little bit of work while I'm crafting things up, dealing with this, try to organize this a little bit. And for the record, this is connected to the things over there. That was the wrong thing to move. My inventory is a mess right now. But, yeah, if we look at that, it's linked. So we'll just put a another transporter, logistical transporter on there, and it will dump items in. Those are all locked, so it will be fine. And, yeah, I am going to get to work on getting the turbine and all that kind of stuff set up. We'll probably set up the turbine a little bit together. There is some things with that. So real quick, I just need to make enough blocks for the control rod and all that kind of stuff. But the turbine has the turbine casings, which is just steel and a osmium. We're going to need a turbine valve, I do believe. Yes, we're going to need these. These are just advanced control circuits. The vents are for releasing. You need to have, so condensers. Condensers are really important because that will give you water back. You can also use reactor glass with those. We'll need the turbine rotors. So these are important. A lot of this stuff is just kind of steel and osmium, not anything too bad. And then the rotational complex, this is like the heart of it. And the reactors, from what I've seen, are pretty neat because they'll kind of tell you what you're missing and where your like efficiencies are and all that kind of stuff. We don't need this to be super efficient. We just need it to work and to acquire stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna continue working on getting stuff ready, and I'll bring you guys back in once we're a little bit more ready to start a reactor. Alright, so I have a ton of things in my inventory, and I also need to remember to grab this thing. So can I like shift right click this? Maybe if I right click it on the thing over here, it will change. But there's our reactor. It is all good. So okay, that seems right. Yeah, that is right. Okay, so that is linked up. We can actually go back home and get that taken care of. We put that in there, and we should see. I actually wonder. 64 FE per tick. That is a lot, but we're about to get a lot more power. So we have our reactor, and this is all the reactor is. So this is going to be steam, and let's go ahead and start placing down some turbine casings. So this is the main body of the turbine. The recipe is steel and osmium, and very similar to our reactor, which we're going to go over in just a second. So basically, we have reactor glass, and if we click on it, it's active. You know, we can activate it, but it is working. It's got some stats. Don't really care about that stuff. So what it is you have the casing here, the glass. If we break this, it'll break for a moment. So we have the fission fuel assemblies with a control rod assembly on the top, and then capped by the reactor casing. That is basically all we needed, and there it goes. It formed again. So we're going to have radioactive waste, and we're going to need to configure some things. So this needs to be on the right setting. I actually don't know what the, I guess, gas is. Output waste. This is going to be an input. This is going to be an input, and this is going to be an output coolant. So that will be steam. And we have pressurized tubes that will go right here. Perfect. So let's get the valve set up. So this is the turbine valve for this guy. And we're going to need more casings, a lot more. So we're going to go up to about here. And I have my hazmat suit on, just in case. And we're going to put 3 rotors. We could do more, but I think we're going to do 3. And then we're going to put turbine blades on these. And we can fit 2 each. That works just fine. We're going to make a relatively small thing. And then on top of this goes the rotational complex. And around that is something that we don't have. We gotta go make. So let's go back home real quick. We'll tell the system to make a bunch more casings. And then we also need, let's get like a stack of casings. We can afford that. And then we're also going to need, what was it called? It is, the disperser, pressure disperser. We're going to need 8 of these. And so this will craft up. It'll be great. So basically, what the disperser does is it disperses gases. So there's a ton of things. These are so complicated. We also have structure glass. This is for using the we don't use reactor glass. We use structure glass. It's a different recipe. It is just steel and glass. But as soon as we have, what is it processing? A lot of enriched iron. Okay, so let's go back over there and we'll do a little bit of other work. So we are going to need to have, let's see, we're gonna have to have a crusher and an enrichment chamber. I guess we'll do something like this, with a pressurized reaction chamber and a pressurized reaction chamber. Let's see. I guess we could just do something like this. So we can configure this to pump into here. We could also do something like this. And then we'll have pressurized tubes going around, and a pressurized tube goes like that. Does this have to be extracted from the bottom? It might. Yes, that's fine. In fact, we will make this nice and neat. So I will mostly get this kind of figured out off camera, but being able to get things looking relatively nice will be good. So I will leave those machines there for now. So basically, we're also going to need a thing for energy. Just put it right here. Why not? And this is going to get the plug. And this is going to be the fission power flux plug. And then, like this machine, all of the sides have to be casing, but everything else can be structural glass, and up to this point. So no further than this, so we can at least see if we have what we need. And one thing to note is this is going to be a little bit taller than the reactor, and that's fine. And I'm making, so we're gonna need 2 more structural glass. I'm making it much smaller than I could, but I don't really care about the power right now. So let's get some structural glass. We just need 2 of those. It'll craft 4 up. And let's go ahead and go back to at mechanism. We have a bunch of the casing. We have the pressure dispersers. We have the structural glass. That should be everything we need for right now. And obviously we can't do anything with the nuclear waste yet. But that is mostly just because of, well, we don't have sulfur. So let's go ahead and finish this part up. And then we'll grab more of the casings. And we'll get this built up a little bit more. So at this point, we need to put the pressure dispersers, which the recipe is like so. The rotational complex, I didn't show the recipe for that, but it is that. None of these recipes are too terrible, but what this does is it basically spreads out the steam. So this is going to boil water to get steam, and this is going to use said steam to turn the turbine. Above this, we can put some electromagnetic coils. In fact, we could make 2 or 3 more of those. Let's go ahead and do that. And that will give us a little bit more. Yeah, 3 more. So you can see it is energy tablets. I'll pull up the recipe once it actually makes them. And then we can do some other stuff. So we're going to need to do a lot more work with various pieces, but the recipe for this, gold, steel, and the energy tablets, pretty straightforward and simple. I am going to need a block to get up there. Okay, so we can put these adjacent, and then we're going to want, I actually don't know if those connect or not. We're going to want condensers. I think we'll break this, and the condensers are what turns the steam back into water, and we're going to want a bunch of vents for this. So we can put vents like so, and then everything else will just be a casing, and it should form a multi-block as soon as we make this. Now I did put a torch on top of that. I don't know that mobs can spawn on these blocks, but just in case. And then this should form perfect. So if we look at the statistics, the blades are limiting, not the coils. Everything seems fine. It's going to output a lot of water. It's going to produce 650,000 FE per tick. So that is pretty good. Now, we can get a mechanical pipe and hook it up here, and then pop it down there. And this will be the water that we recondense. So let's go ahead and get that set up, and then we're going to set up, I guess right here, our coolant. Let's grab some more blocks, and we're just going to do this, turn that, and just to make sure it pulls. So this will ooh, that is not good. Okay, so this needs to fill up with water. We need a lot of water for this. We're also going to want a pressurized tube there. I don't know if we actually need to like do that, but I'm going to. And that's connected. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, we need to fill this up with water. If we don't fill this up with water, bad things are going to happen. So, I think what we need to do is we need to go home. And the limiting factor is now this guy, the water condenser. I need to figure out a better way to get vast quantities of water. Because there is no, like, infinite water in this. Not really. I mean, I guess there is rituals and there is the aqueous accumulator. How fast can that go? We could have a system of them as well. And the aqueous accumulators are not terribly expensive. It does require bronze. Let's grab one and see what it's capable of. So normally, let's just do something right here. We set the aqueous accumulator there. We could augment it. Augment. I don't know what kind of augments this could use. But don't drown. Yes. Okay. So I keep hitting the wrong buttons. Let's grab some water. Where do I have infinite sources in this place? I don't know anymore. I guess we'll just grab water here. And we will get this going. And then let's grab another ender tank, because why not? They're cheap enough. We can then grab some more lapis. Actually, you know what? Let's use the blue. Okay, let's just tell it to use the blue dye. Why not? And then we can get this blue. And will it? No. Let's grab a mechanical pipe. And this is just kind of proof of concept. Let's get fluids. And okay, so that is going as fast as it can. I don't know if we can get any filters, expanded tanks. Let's look up aqueous accumulator, and doesn't tell me any uses. Okay, so let's see how it's going over here. It is very slowly filling up. So I'll tell you guys what, I am going to yeah, it's going to take a lot of water. This needs to fill up with a ton of water. I'm going to do a little bit of research, see if there's any way we can get more water out of anything. And you know, we could make a ritual of water. There is the, is it Project E? Yes. I had to remember what it was called. There is the Evertide Amulet. Right click to fill tanks. That takes dark matter though. And I mean that would work. I don't know if that works with the thing or not, but we could try it. However, it requires dark matter. We don't have the ability to make much dark matter right now. So I'm going to look into how we can get more water production and what upgrades we can get for like these machines. Otherwise, we make an... I mean, this could get power. I mean, let's try that right now. What happens if we give you power? You make a lot more water, but still not really enough. probably just using a ton of power. So that is something I'm going to have to figure out. So I'm going to do a little bit of research with that and see if we can't get this reactor filled up with water today within the next like couple of hours. I joke, but maybe not. I will get this set up a little bit. Again, it doesn't matter too much. We don't have sulfur. We do not have the capabilities, or at least I didn't see we had sulfur last time. Nope. We do have fluorite, so I can grab that. But yeah, I'm going to figure out what I can do to get more water and more water faster, and we'll go from there. So I will be back once we're ready to kind of finish things up. So I have been working on some stuff. I've been cleaning up this chest. I unplugged it from the connection, and we have a couple of wither skeleton skulls, which is kind of nice, but a bunch of stuff still need to sort. Been working on that. There is one thing that's kind of annoying because super glue is hard to put into those. So we might just take that out for now and deal with that later. But yeah, so I've been busy doing a little bit of research. So one thing, this can take augments, sorta. The hardened integral components, and these are the upgrades for thermal, and it can actually accept these. So we're gonna want to get some of this stuff made at some point, and to help with that, we're actually going to go ahead and probably automate, maybe next episode. Maybe I'll do it between episodes, I don't know. But we're gonna automate induction smelter because that's like the way to do that. So we are actually ready to start this reactor, and that's terrifying. We're gonna just go ahead and do it. We have 64,000 millibuckets of the fuel, and yeah, it is completely full of water. Now, here is the thing, and this is important. I am not going to be running this permanently. This is solely to get polonium, and I've set up the system right here. Now there is a little bit of concern. You know, I need to look into, can this get redstone controlled? Haha. And then we could probably, if I had a stick, the game likes giving me sticks all the time. I can make sticks. So let's go ahead and get a stick and a lever. And I think this will work. So if I put, it does that. Okay, so let's get this configured to pull, and we can turn it off. All right, perfect. Okay, so I want to store the, okay. Let's start from the beginning. This thing is going to take our fuel, which is full, and it is going to fill up this tank. And we can actually go ahead and do that. It doesn't do that until we turn this on like so. Can we eject? Does it have to be on the bottom? I don't know. Okay. I never know how these chemical tanks work. Let's grab this. Is it a... No, this is the this is for this gases, fluids. No, let's see. I'll put input only. All right. I don't know if we do that. Okay, now it's scary. All right, so that's what I need to do. Side configs. That is fine. Okay, so we have our fissile fuel and our coolant in here. If I hit this activate, it will activate the reactor. I don't want to do that quite yet. So what will happen is this will use up the fuel and it will heat up the coolant. The coolant will then produce steam that goes in here. And presumably this thing, let's dump excess power. Let's do that because it can store a lot. 1.12 giga FE is a lot of power. So basically, the steam will come in here, spin the turbine, and then get condensed and turned back into water. And hopefully this does not run out of water. If this runs out of water, the entire reactor can overheat. When the reactor overheats too much, it blows up, which is why it is far away from the base. So this makes the steam and then it makes waste. In this case, the waste that it makes is nuclear waste. This is fantastic. So it takes a lot of water, 1 millibucket of fuel to make a lot of steam, and 1 millibucket of waste. And then the waste will go in here. Now I have made another radioactive barrel because I didn't notice something. But when we want to, mainly when we have, so if we set this up right now, we can hook up this stuff, and we're also going to need water here. I just stole this from one of the industrial foregoing because that's not super useful. Ooh, I don't like that. You are full of water. You are full of water. You are not full of water. I do not like that. We want to have full of water, but you are full of water. Were you a visual bug? I don't think so. You are full of water. You are full of water. You are not full of anything. Okay. You are full of water. You are full of water. All right. Everybody's full of water. So, okay. So this will make the nuclear waste. And then we get to use that. So the fluorite is already in here because I've hooked up this. This gets crushed up, and I have a pipe. You can see it right there, running through, and from here, that is this pipe, will go into here. This pressurized reaction chamber will make us polonium from sulfur dust, nuclear waste, and water. No, it says chocolate, but it's any type of water. And then that will get processed into here, which is this recipe. It'll take fluorite dust, the polonium, and the water to make the polonium pellets, which should get put into the drawer, and spent nuclear waste, which goes in there. What we do with it after that, I don't know. So, we have our hazmat suit on. Let's go ahead, and we're not going to be moving anything quite yet, but we can go ahead and put this down. With some cables. This will get power to all these machines. This will actually start working. Don't really care about it right now, not important. But we're going to close this all up to make it look nice. And let's activate. Ooh, that is terrifying. So it should be making, it is making steam, it is making power, the coolant is good, flow rate is going to be faster once we get more steam, once this gets hotter, and everything seems pretty good. This is slowly making nuclear waste. That is awesome. So how are we doing all of this? Well, the polonium pellets are used for quite a few things. This is terrifying. There are ways. There's a way. If we look at the logic thing, yeah, the fission reactor logic adapter. This thing can be used to monitor or control the fission reactor with redstone. Basically, you can use this to do things that I don't quite understand yet. Basically, you can use it to detect the heat, and if it gets too hot, you can turn it off automatically. That's it. So this is producing everything. Everything seems to be okay. This is also making, what are we outputting power-wise? Quite a bit of power. So I don't want to, let's go ahead and deactivate that. It's going to slowly cool down. Nothing major there. And I just want to go see how much power do we have. We had like 12 million. Okay, so we've gotten quite a bit more. Now, I was wondering if we could do anything with... yeah, we can get this stuff, and I think force load, I do believe that means this will always be, I don't know how that works actually, but presumably this is now loaded, so we should be able to activate this. It's gonna continue to do its thing. I don't know that this is actually making enough steam, but it's fine. I don't really care. The only thing I really care about is that this is safe, it is not running out of water, and it is producing nuclear waste. That's all that matters. So what happens if we go away and go back? Nothing. Okay. Should be alright. I'm going to look into what this stuff actually means, the claim chunks. I don't know what force load means. That is... No, I do not want it to expire. Okay. So it should be force loaded for eternity, and that is perfect. So what I'm going to do is, in the episode off here, we have a fission reactor. That is great. We can start working towards the mecha suit stuff. This stuff is what we're going to use to go fight skeletons and hopefully get a skeleton. We'll get the mecha tool. We can make the atomic disassembler. This is some good weaponry stuff. We can get modifications. We'll look into that at some point. But I think next time what I want to work on is automating these things so we can get better water processing. And God, this is terrifying. We can go ahead and break that. I don't want to break anything else. I don't want to break you. I don't know what will happen. But yeah, we'll just let this run for a little bit. And next time we'll do some more stuff. We need to get sulfur. That is kind of a big thing right now. And so we might even make a processing system to make more sulfur, specifically sulfur dust. And that will, I think that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and do this next time. We'll make some, that's just an electrolyzer. And yeah, that's really easy. We could probably add that onto something else and then just make the dust and put it directly in here. Actually, we wouldn't even have to do anything else. So that is a plan. I think that's what we're gonna work on next time, and we will see what else we can get into. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.